Welcome to the Last Week This Week review of Last of Us Episode 5. I'm Ian Scott.
And I'm Zack Huber.
And today, we're doing exactly what I just said. We're reviewing Episode 5, which just came out, and going through some spoilers and some non-spoilers. We'll start with some non-spoilers. But what'd you think of this one, Zack?
You know, I said that the last week's episode was one of their best, and in a different way, I also think that this is one of their best. I really
okay.
I mean, I really enjoyed. I really like this episode.
It had some really great moments for sure.
Yeah, it's not as I guess, emotional, and it felt like it was. It didn't exactly feel like it drove characters' stories forward as much as like last week's did. Though
Right.
in some ways it illuminated things that was really nice to see, and have certain characters fleshed out. But I think that this episode was probably the most stressed out I've ever been in.
Really? In the last,
at least in this season. In this season, I think it might be some of the most stressed out scenes that I've seen.
I was more stressed last week, weirdly, but
well, I mean, last week was really stressful too. But yeah, there was just something about when we go into spoilers. There were just certain things that were particularly when they go into a room full of things that just I was like, wow, that's you're one of you will die. One of
most
you
likely
has to die. And but yeah, a lot of great moments, some really surprising moments. And they set up the next episode to be a really big emotional gut punch, I imagine. I knew I figured we were gonna get a flashback, and this looks like we're getting a flashback throughout many years that we have not seen is what I'm imagining. And
seems like it.
Yeah, very excited. Had a really great time with this episode. It was really good. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Totally agree. I think, like there were some really amazing, intense moments in this, like the one you kind of mentioned earlier. The very last scene, I think, is like maybe my favorite of this season. I mean, it was so good. And you had a really great intro, which we'll get into as well. But I think last week was a really great, was comparing it to last week. It was just a constant ride you were going on. There was no lull moments. It was just beat after beat of just intense and emotional and insaneness. And this week, I think there were definitely times of relaxation and slow character development. But it doesn't take away from this episode, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because last week's episode was so special that you're coming down from a high almost. It feels like. But no, I it's hard for me to talk about this one without spoilers. So, those are my thoughts, non-spoiler wise. If I want to get into it.
Yeah, sure. So they did a really great opener this time around. You know, I think one of the things that I really enjoy about watching this as a show, and the times where it deviates from the game, is when you have moments like this, where you had this guard who basically was running through the events of sealing off the basement of this Seattle hospital. And it sounds terrifying the way that she describes it, and the whole build up, it's just you don't even know these characters, but you're feeling for them already, and it's acted so well, and the dialogue's so good that you're
for sure.
When you get hit with the I'm sorry about your son,
you're that's such a punch to the gut. Holy shit, she had to do that, and no wonder she's on the verge of breaking down. Good Lord.
And it does strike a certain fear when you're like, they're talking about these spores being in the air, which is just so.
You're like, how do you survive that?
Terrifying.
Without just running or sealing something off. I mean, that's like the only way you can survive.
I know, but I think about it like, imagine like getting out.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's over. You're done. I mean, like
it's such a terrifying idea.
Yeah. Yeah. If the world wasn't already terrifying enough.
Right. And then we follow that to basically Dina using her math skills,
her triangulation
skills, that which Ellie has none, and you kind of get like they're two sides of like what makes them great. Like one's like been keeping Ellie alive so far in the ways of being like smart and thinking through like, how are we going to do this? And then Ellie later on the episodes, like, this is what I can contribute by just being an animal and killing machine and like can't get infected. And
she's the brute and Dina's the brains.
So. Right. And so that was all like kind of neat. But eventually, you know, they decide we're going to go through this. She figures out that they basically have this one section of the map that they're not guarding, they're not checking. Yeah. Is most likely because there's infected inside,
which makes the plan like so dumb. I mean, like immediately you're like, okay, I get you guys are driven. You want to kill these people. I get that, right? But like, there's a building. You're thinking there's a building full of infected, and like you already know they're evolving. Like you know that maybe some of them might not be the normal clickers, right? So what is your plan going in there? It's just like, we'll just kill whatever we come across. Like
and not shoot.
yeah, and they can't use guns. Like that's a crazy plan.
Yeah. But they decide to go for it, and while they're walking the streets of Seattle, it gets a little sketchy looking, and eventually you see these dead bodies of like, you know, you see Feel Her Love, and then you see like Feel This Bitch. It's just these dead cult guys,
dead scars. Yeah.
And immediately it's like, oh, okay. Like I think some people were complaining about how Ellie last week wasn't immediately like, that's it, you know, you're pregnant, we're leaving. Because I think there was a comparison that like when she finds out in the game, she's like, we're going, like, I'm taking you back, this is a horrible idea. And then in the show, she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a dad. And then you get and people complain, and then you literally get that moment here.
Well, but here's the thing, I that's maybe like even though I think what comes out of Dina and her backstory is really like great information and like lore, I really felt like it was out of place for this to happen then, because like they've been through so much in these like months or two that they traveled up to Seattle. They've seen, you know, obviously all that they're preparing to see. Like they've seen gruesome bodies and everything, right? And this isn't any different. And all of a sudden Ellie's like, oh my God, oh, we got to turn. What was I thinking? Oh my gosh. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Like you guys have been like, as soon as you guys held hands at the end of last episode, there should have been no more like back and forth, in my opinion. It should have been like, we're driven, we're settled, let's go, you know? But I don't know. If it had happened earlier, I think it would have been better, but that's me.
I hear you, but I think I had the same reaction when I saw that. I was like, yeah, this place is like really fucked up.
Really fucked up, yeah.
And I don't know, for me, it didn't feel out of place. And I really, really liked Isabella Merced's, you know, acting, telling that story.
Sure.
Like I was completely sold. And I would say that like Isabella Merced is like one of the best things about this show. So it makes me so excited to see her
Superman.
in Superman.
Yep.
I mean, she was great in Alien Romulus, playing another pregnant woman.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited. Like that whole story was just like so fucked up. And she played it in a way that was like, well, everybody else's story's fucked up, but how do you think this one goes? And it's just like this guessing game. It's like not quite. I mean, you're almost there, and it's like that is so fucked up.
Yeah. So obviously Dina has seen things and has
seen a lot of things.
Right. And it is tougher than maybe Ellie thought she was. So they're all hiding secrets from each other.
But also like just to not reiterate, but like to bring home like why we're doing this. Right. Because like her saying, you know, if he had never died, if I didn't kill him, then I would have never stopped.
Then I would have died Yeah.
You know, and then you kind of, you know, we'll get to the end, but I feel like that was indicative of like, why are we going after these people? You know, why is it that we need to seek revenge? And it's because of this good thing that was taken away, you know?
Right.
And so
totally.
They very video game like, you know, go towards this building.
This big long building.
And I thought it was very very stressful, like, you know, like breaking into the fence and the spotlight searching for them. Thought that was really well done.
And then you get to that big old room where they think, there's maybe one smart clicker in there. And ends up there's like I think in the after like making of it they said like there was 11 in there, and I was like
when I just saw the one I was like I was like, oh shit,
because one could kill them both, you know,
right, one, and then like they showed the same like area of where that one is again, and like you just ever so slightly see like two more, and you're like, oh my god. And then when it was like all around them, I was like, I was terrified for them. And it was like, Ellie's gonna get ripped apart trying to save Dina, because like there's no other option. She has to like go into that thing. And then if they're Ellie fucking like ripping it was
right. If Ellie wasn't saved, I do think she probably dies in that fight. Which is insane to think about.
She would have died.
Just all that way to die to some clickers. Like that's heartbreaking.
I mean, but it kind of like it does show how cruel this world is.
Well, and it also shows they have to be smarter and better about what they're doing, you know?
Yeah. And I didn't realize like Jesse was gonna become a bigger part of this story.
I was like, wow, okay. Jesse and Tommy tracked them all the way. Like that's insane for them to spend like also the same amount of time, like 2 months traveling just to save Ellie. But I guess Tommy obviously cares deeply about Ellie. Jesse obviously cares deeply about Dina. So maybe it's not so crazy, but still.
But it caught me off guard because I thought it was just going to be a bunch of like WLF guys who like come in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But you know, that good for them. I'm glad that they got saved
there in the nick of time. Yeah.
And I mean,
must be some good trackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But yeah, they get to escape. Jesse's obviously not very happy with the two of them, and I get it. They're being incredibly reckless, and I don't even know if Jesse knows about. I don't think he knows about the kid either.
No,
but obviously he just is probably still in love with Dina, and that makes sense. But he has no one to talk to Ellie at the moment. Even though they used to be boys, but now things are more complicated. And but yeah, they come across this Seraphite camp where some WLF people are getting executed. They're spotted pretty instantly, and Dina gets shot.
Well, I just want to say regarding
always in danger.
Regarding that whole scene.
What, the Seraphite or the last one?
Yeah, the Seraphite when they run it, because you know, like they're running, it's like, oh, we can lose them in the park or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when you realize that it's like, oh shit, they're not going in the park. It's like, god damn it, what's in the fucking park now?
I mean, honestly, Seraphites, I would rather run into them over the clickers, but
Yeah, I mean, in a way, look, the way that I felt about it was like they went in there, and then it felt like I was watching something in between, like the Brotherhood of Steel mixed with like some like obviously like they are an apocalyptic cult, but it was like something in between like Brotherhood of Steel and I don't know, some sort like of messed up Walking Dead. Yeah, like just something totally fucked up. And just seeing this ritual of like he must be cleansed.
He must be freed
he must be freed and then we're gonna, like choke him out while his organs get disemboweled. And you see like I think when they're like spread out and trying to get them and they're running through the woods with these like torches, I was just like this just feels like this. It was cool, but it just felt like I was in this really scary, like fucked up new world that hadn't existed before in the show, because it didn't really feel like people still felt like slightly modern, but it's like now we've gone into this like old barbaric,
fanatic, like crazy people cult.
And as much as getting shot sucks, I think what scares me about them is that they're using like arrows and things that like if they get you, like that's gonna fuck you up even worse than a bullet potentially.
I mean, especially if they're always going for like the disembowelment of people too, it's pretty rough.
They just freaked me out. Like, so I was like very not about ever running into those people ever again.
We don't have confirmation that Dina and Jesse escaped, but Ellie tried to draw them to her, and she was able to kind of hide her way out of there, until she stumbled across a hospital.
Pretty miraculous that she like was like, I'm pretty sure
somebody's in there.
That person would be there, and then
I think they knew that they needed to get to the hospital. I think that was their main goal, right? And that Nora was there. But pretty crazy that she found Nora so fast. Right, I will say that. But it was a very cool reveal where Nora was just working at her station, and then Ellie comes up behind her, is like, put it down, put your hands up, like. Yeah, the whole ending of this episode is, I mean, it is a little video gamey, but still like it's some of my favorite stuff in this season. Because once Ellie, like, well, I guess two things are revealed here. Nora is revealed to be more happy about Joel's death than I thought.
Right.
And after the chase sequence, where they slip into the basement where the cordyceps are kind of airborne. Nora gets turned pretty fast there, and Ellie obviously is immune. But in that moment where Nora basically tells Ellie everything that Joel did, she goes into like this psycho mode where she's like, I don't give a fuck, like, you're going to tell me where Abby is, and I'm going to torture it out of you if you don't tell me. Yeah. And like, the last scene of her just like beating on her leg and just probably breaking both legs is insane. Even for Ellie, it definitely shows she's got a lot of Joel in her, I think. But I do know there was some like commentary online, kind of like showing the difference between like the game and this, and apparently in the game, like Ellie is a little more like aware of what she's doing, right? She's not like going into this like, I have to accomplish this trance almost. And she's like maybe even a little more upset about like what she's doing, because she knows like that it's maybe wrong, but she knows like she has this goal in mind. But I do like this kind of take on it where it's almost like, without even realizing it, she's understanding why Joel did what he had to do, and like she's making the same decisions here,
Yeah, I agree.
I love that.
And I think when she's like, I know what he did and I don't care. Right. It makes me so interested to see what the episode next week is going to show about, and it also, it's like, it'd just be interested to see how she feels about it, because like it's still like there was still a bit of a rift, and
right.
I'm just be curious to see like what was still going on, and maybe she's still upset about it, but still would never want to lose him, sort of thing.
I think that is really what it boils down to, and I think
she never thought she was going to lose him.
Right, she never thought that like. I think before he died, she never thought that he would maybe be right about something like this or like justified in his actions. But I feel like she almost feels like she's justified in her actions now in doing a very similar thing, you know? So yeah, I think, yeah, there's a really beautiful, like, I don't know, paralleling of the two characters there. But I still think like next week, we're going to get an episode of like, my theory is that we're going to go through like the years, and it's like the relationship's going to slowly deteriorate. Right?
Yeah. Well, it was just like going back to what Dina said. It's like they were so special, and they did something like it doesn't matter who they were. Like
they didn't deserve that, right?
Well, there's that, but also. When they show that last bit of like Joel waking her up, and they're like the happiest they've ever probably looked at each other.
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't matter if he did a terrible thing. Like that was still her happiness, and that was taken away.
Yeah.
And that's
even if she didn't agree with it at the time, she might have a different view now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
pretty great episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's our review this week. We got 3 more episodes this season. I wouldn't mind if these start becoming like an hour long, like the episodes that are coming out, because I think this last one was like 45 minutes, which I'm not complaining, but I like an hour long episode. So hopefully we get back to more of those. But as always, thank you for watching our review, and we'll be back with an episode 6 next week.
All right. See you next week.